Hello, algebra students. It's Mr. Roush again. We're going to talk about 16.2, solving quadratic equation, the x squared plus bx plus c equals 0 by factoring. First thing we have to talk about is the zero product property. That means if you multiply two numbers together and it equals 0, one of them must be 0. So either your a has to be a 0 or your b has to be a 0. So that's going to come into play when we start talking about the actually applying the zero product property. So if we have f of x equals x minus 2 times x minus 9, if we want to apply the zero product property, you want to set f of x equal to 0. So instead of this, put in a 0. Doesn't matter, you can put it there or you can put it here. It's up to you. So now if x minus 2 times x minus 9 equals 0, one of these binomials must be 0. So let's see what your x could equal. So you're going to have x minus 2 equals 0 and x minus 9 equals 0. So by doing this, we can find out which one of these is 0. Now all you have to do is just solve it. Do the inverse operation, x equals 2. Add 9, x equals 9. So now if we plug this in, and we plugged in x for this one right here, it'd be 2 minus 2 is 0. 0 times negative 2 minus 9, negative 7. 0 times negative 7 is 0. So one of your solutions is x equals 2. Now the other solution is 9. 9 minus 2 is 7, but 9 minus 9 is 0. 0 times 7 is 0. So that is the zero product property. As always, you could pause your video, take notes, write some things down, copy down notes. There's going to be one where we have actually to distribute. So if we have x times x plus 8. So this one's actually pretty easy because you take your x that you factor out and x equals 0. So the only number that's going to equal 0 is going to be 0. So x is 0. So one of your answers will be 0. Now we're left with x plus 8 equals 0. Same thing, subtract 8 from both sides, x equals negative 8. So 0 and negative 8. Those are your two answers. Now we're going to talk about solving the quadratic equation by factoring, which all we have to do is create those two binomials by factoring. And if you notice, there's no a up there, so this is going to be the easy factoring. So let's start off with our x squared plus 10x equals negative 21. X squared plus 10x equals negative 21. Now, we want this in the form the ax squared, or x squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So this must be a 0. That must be 0. So what we want to do is we're going to add 21 to both sides. So we're going to get x squared plus 10x plus 21 equals 0. So now we have this trinomial here. We need to factor this. So just remember what we've done before. What two numbers multiply to get to 21 that add to get to a 10? So we're going to be left with x plus 7, x plus 3 equals 0. Now from here, you should know how to do this. So we're going to break it down to x plus 7 equals 0, x plus 3 equals 0. So we're going to solve this, minus 7, x equals negative 7, minus 3. So those are your two zeros there. That was example 2 on page 573. So you should be able to solve your turn problems on 6, 7, 8, and 9. The hardest one looks like it could be number 9, so let's go over that one. Okay, so number 9 says x squared plus 2x equals 8. So remember, this must be a 0, so we're going to have to subtract 8 from both sides. So it's going to be x squared plus 2x minus 8 equals 0. Now we have to take this and factor it. So what two numbers are gonna multiply to get to a -8, but add to get to a +2? So one has to be positive, one has to be negative. And since that's positive, I'm gonna say it's gonna be a +4 and a -2. Now we have to set these both equal to 0. So make two separate equations. X plus 4 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0. -4, x equals -4, add 2. So your answers are -4 and 2. So remember, if you do have any questions on this, please reach out to me. I can send you a personal video or just explain through email on how to do this. So on page 574, we're going to talk about solving real-world problems with this equation. So the real-world problems, they usually talk about like hitting a golf ball, a baseball, or anything that goes up and comes down. So on here, it says a golf ball is hit from a hill and its height can be modeled by, we have h equals -16 t squared plus 32t plus 48, where h is the height in feet and t is the time in seconds. So first thing I would do is I would set it equal to 0. So instead of the h, we're gonna put in a 0. Now we have to factor something out. And I can already tell I can factor out a -16. So it's gonna be -16 t squared minus 2t minus 3. And now I'm gonna look at and see what can equal 0. So what can we factor out of there? So we can factor out, or we've already factored that out. So now we're gonna have, does -16 equal 0? No, so that's gone. Just get rid of this -16. So now we have to factor this out. So we're gonna have, since that's a negative, it's gonna be a positive and a negative. So what are our factors of -3? It's gonna be -3 and a +1. So now we're talking about, so we have to solve for t, which is time. So t minus 3 equals 0, t plus 1 equals 0. We're gonna add 3 to both sides, t equals 3. Here we're gonna subtract 1, t equals -1. Those are our two answers, but whenever you deal with real life situations, you can never have negative time or a negative distance. So this one's gone, and your t, the time that that ball's in flight, is actually 3 seconds. It is 3 seconds. So like I said, if you have any questions on this, please reach out to me. Feel free to email me, and yeah, we'll just continue going, having doing our math. All right, thanks. Have a great day.